Welcome to the Marriage Be Like podcast. We're your hosts, Kenny
and Kenya.
And we are so glad that you are joining us today. Listen, this podcast is here to discuss love and relationships, life topics, and how to navigate through it all.
Disclaimer, we are not specialists or counselors or professionals in these fields. We are a married couple who's got 27 years of life experiences under our belt. We hope to open some discussions, build communication, and plant some seeds. So sit back, enjoy, and let's have a conversation and grow together.
Welcome back to another episode of the Marriage Be Like podcast.
Welcome.
Listen, we are so glad that you are joining us today.
Yes.
If this is your first time, we want to first thank you for
first-time listeners
joining and tuning in. We do want to ask that anyone who is repeating, listening again, repeat visitor, listen, share it. Share it.
Yes,
Subscribe and share.
Spread the word.
Let everybody know that you are checking out the best
marriage podcast
ever. So
yes.
you can go to our website at marriagebelike.com, wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music Podcasts, Spotify, wherever
everywhere.
You get it, YouTube. But if you are listening on Thursdays at 4 p.m. Eastern time, you are listening to us on Envision Radio. Envision-radio.com. I'm going to get you to say it as low as I
can't say it as low as you.
Yes, you can.
But shout out to Envision Radio for allowing us to have our show.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
That's right. So we do want you to remember, check us out 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Central Time, right here on envision-radio.com.
All right.
Well, let's get into it, can we?
Yeah. You know what? I hadn't done anything about the calendar much this month.
Okay.
So I figured I'd throw out a few things.
Well, let's talk about it.
Well into the month.
I mean, the month is almost over.
Yeah, it is.
Get on the ball now.
But now we did talk about last week. We talked about Mother's Day.
We did.
For the recap. We did. So it wasn't that I'm just completely left it out.
There are 31 days in May.
May is a good, healthy month full of events and things.
Yes.
So we'll just run through a few things. So if you are, if you are Mexican American, anything of that nature, then Cinco de Mayo.
That's right, May 5th.
May 5th. That's what you celebrated. And then, of course, May 11th was Mother's Day.
Right.
And this month, lots of graduations.
Oh, man.
College graduations.
High school graduations.
8th grade, kindergarten.
Oh,
do
man.
people graduate from 5th grade?
I don't know.
Maybe some schools do.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know. Our kids are grown. I can't remember.
Daycare graduations.
Yes, daycare graduations. Also true for those who are leaving and going to kindergarten.
Yeah, we find a way to celebrate anything, right?
This is true. But yes, all those accomplishments are all great. So we want to say congratulations to all the graduates.
All the graduates, yeah.
And may God bless you in your next endeavor.
Yeah. Yeah, even if it is kindergarten.
God bless you in kindergarten. Amen. Okay, so this month in pop culture, what is it, babe? What do people celebrate?
May the 4th be with you.
Star Wars.
Yeah. I am a huge Star Wars fan.
Yes.
Yeah, so, anyway. And you know what? You have a T-shirt that says that. May the 4th be with you.
Yes.
No, is it? What does yours say?
It says the 4th. I think it said the 4th.
No. We'd have to look that one. I don't remember what it says.
I don't remember what it says either.
But it is.
It don't say the 4th?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, I have a T-shirt, one T-shirt that I bought because I saw it and I was like, you know what? My husband would appreciate this.
I know what it says.
What does it say?
May the Lord be with you.
That's what it says. May the Lord be with you.
Tell me,
that is true.
What is it? Tell me you're so churchy without saying that. May the Lord be with you.
That is true. So I usually pull that out in May.
Yes. There we go. Okay, so May the 4th or 4th.
Yes.
May 4th.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Be with you. And of course we celebrate that. Or those who are Trekkies. No. Wars. No. What are y'all called?
I don't know.
Star Wars?
I'm a fan of Star Wars.
Okay, for those who are fans of Star Wars, people celebrate that in May because it came out on the 25th of May, 1977.
You know what? Okay, so it came out May 25th, 1977. I remember that day like it was yesterday.
Really?
No.
Now I do remember watching Star Wars because that was a big deal back in 1977.
That was probably my first movie, my first movie going to see.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, now I was, I mean, in 77.
And we was too churchy to be up in the movies. Shame on you.
Well,
we didn't see it there.
I had family that took me. So, but listen, I had an X-wing fighter toy.
Yep. Now you've lost me. I have no idea what that is.
Really?
Is that the ship?
It's the same ship that
the white
Luke.
One?
Yes,
that Luke. The little round thing.
No.
Oh, wrong one.
No,
okay,
the X-wing. It's an X.
Oh, I'm trying to decide if I remember the toy or not.
I'm not going to.
Okay, so you had the toys. There you go, babe.
It's like telling the joke
and then not get it.
Not getting it. I got to explain the joke. Yeah, to take all the fun out of it.
Yeah, sorry.
No, I'm not doing that today.
It's okay. We're just gonna ride on by it. All right, good. Yay for those who love Star Wars. All right, and May 31st.
Yes.
Is Memorial Day.
Yeah, this year is May 31st.
Yes.
That's right.
So now I have to make mention that is Memorial Day for the U.S. because we have listeners who are not in the U.S.
Right.
All right. So in the U.S., May 31st is Memorial Day holiday, a day to honor all those who have served and died in our U.S. military.
That's right. That's right.
So that is coming up.
Yeah.
So the one, let's see, May is also Mental Health Awareness Month.
Okay.
So because of that, that's what we're talking about today.
Ah.
We're not talking about all of them. I just rolled through the holidays and things that we celebrate. But we're talking about mental health awareness.
Yes. Okay. All right. That's fine because we can sit here. We need 5 episodes to talk about Star Wars, but
I don't know. Now
mental health awareness.
Do it. Okay, you'd have to have somebody else to co-host that day. Those 5 episodes.
Right.
All right, so let's jump on into a segment. How about that? Let's break it up a little bit.
All right, sure.
All right, so we do segments for those who are listening for the first time. We do segments in our podcast and games as ways to spark conversation amongst your in your relationship, amongst your spouse and partner, however you want to say it. But it is a way to get more information and bond and spark conversation.
And grow together.
Yes. All right. So this week's is What I Love About You.
Now, listen, people, we have to say this. The way we do this is we have to tell each other what we love about each other. But every time you got to say something new. So it gets challenging.
It does.
And so I'm here for it, though. So let's go. What you got?
I've actually had the last couple times we've done this, I already had them pre-planned.
Oh, okay.
Because I thought of something. I was like, you know what? That'd be great to say on the podcast. So today is my last one. The next time we do this, I had to think of something else. But today, and I'll go first.
Okay.
All right. So what I love about you, babe, is how you look at me. No matter what I look like at the house.
Okay.
Because I'm very relaxed and comfortable at the house.
I'm glad she didn't ask me what goes on in my mind.
Okay, all right. Look, I know, but I just be like, you know what? Oh, well. There are days I just don't care. And you still look at me in that same loving way, so I appreciate it.
Oh, wow. I feel special. You done made me feel pretty good.
Yeah, I feel special because I know I be looking a mess sometimes.
Never.
Hair all over the place. Yeah.
Never.
Even though my hair is cut short, sometimes it still be having its days.
Okay. Well, all right. I'm gonna leave that alone or else I get in trouble. So
yeah, we won't. I'll go ahead and just say okay or yes because I'm already putting it out there. Yeah. It's all right.
Yeah. So yeah. All right. So is it my turn then?
It's your turn.
Okay, great. Let me off the hook. So so what I love about you, babe, is that you accept me for who I am.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I mean, because well, just like you said, talking about how you look around the house, I tell you what, I'm a handful at times. Not all the time. I'm gonna talk bad about myself, but you know, I can be a handful. How about that?
Yes, and for those who know you and listen, they're gonna be like, "Oh yeah,
yeah." If you know me, you know. Anyway, and so I'm grateful that that you love me the way I am, and then if I
like I am.
there you go.
Who sings that? For
Oh,
King Country
is that
and
King
Jordan
Country?
Sparks. There we go.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that's what I love about you.
All right. I like that too, babe.
Yeah.
You don't bother me.
I don't bother you?
No.
Okay. I'm sure I bother some folk. I'm sure that I do. There will not be a poll about that.
No, there should not be a poll about it. No.
So, yeah.
Okay, so let's go ahead. That was our segment. So we have a game coming up a little bit later. So be ready.
Mhm.
Make sure that y'all, or I don't want to say make sure, we're not forcing you to, but hey, use these segments and games to spark conversation and learn more about each other.
Yeah.
And then when you do, tell us about it. You can
That's right.
email us.
You
So
can
we'll
email
give
us
you-
at Kenny and
Kenya.
at marriagebelike.com. Let's say that again because I know we caught you
Because I
off
was
guard.
going to say, you know what? You can email us and we'll tell you at the end of the show like we normally do. But yes, we can tell you now.
Yeah.
Kenny and Kenya
At marriagebelike.com. Okay. So
let's jump back into our
Mental Health Awareness Month.
All right. So common health conditions, mental health conditions include depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, and schizophrenia.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, I didn't know that.
Really?
I did not. I didn't know that there were common ones. I just
Okay.
never really considered it, I guess.
Okay.
And yeah, major depressions bring them are the most common.
Mm.
So I didn't know that either. I guess I just doing some research and looking up some things because I felt like, well, this is something that needs to be talked about. We can never talk about mental health too much,
Right.
honestly.
Right.
Because the goal is to be able to have healthy mental health.
Yes.
And in order to do that, you want to discuss it and be able to find ways to deal with it, especially in this crazy world.
I tell you what, you talk about how volatile the events, events of what happens around us,
Yeah.
and the impact that it can have on our mental health.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's so we have to be more aware. We have to be able to talk about it, have an open mind about what we are seeing, and then approach these things with no judgment. Because sometimes we look at folks and say, well, why do you think that way? Why do you, that doesn't make any sense.
No judgment. Yeah.
Right.
Because to each his own, and everyone feels and thinks differently.
Differently, right.
And so no one's going to be just like you or
Right.
even have your thought process. So
Right.
then we have to be respectful of those who don't.
That's right.
Because their name ain't your name.
That's right.
So why can't they?
That's right.
I mean, even things that that happen in life that you can't prevent or that you don't cause. For
Mhm.
instance, I was a little stressed out last night with all the storms
Okay.
because I was like, really? They were just back to back to back. We had tornadoes here in our area and they just kept coming on through.
Mhm.
And we were getting lots of rain and lightning. I don't recall them saying anything actually touched down.
Maybe not in our immediate
Right, not in our
area,
immediate area.
but there were some out, in
right
a little
out in
further away from us.
surrounding areas of our city.
Right.
But that was a little stressful because I knew I had to go to work last night. So then the question is, can those things stop before I get there?
Right.
I don't want to be out in the storms trying to get to work and so that was a little bit stressful.
Yeah,
I was here
you
by
could just-
myself.
for a little while you were.
I
You
was.
calling, looking for me, trying to figure out where I was. I
Calling
was on my
around
way
to the
home.
family. I'm in my hiding space trying to make sure I'm safe.
So I mean, we can laugh about it now, right? But I walked in the house and I'm looking around, right? And lights were off, doors were open, rooms, and I'm like, where is Kenya? I walked into the bedroom. You weren't there. I said, well, maybe she's in the restroom. Nope, you weren't in there. I said, where is she? So yeah, she was
in
hiding.
the cupboard.
She was hiding. Yeah.
And getting me some snacks. That's what I was doing. I mean, you may as well.
In the pantry.
Yes.
Hiding
may
in the
as well.
pantry. What a good place to hide, right?
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
I know. I was hungry anyway, so that worked out. But yeah, it was a little bit stressful. So, those kinds of things are things that you cannot prepare really. But also you can't prevent, you can't control.
Right.
And you can only follow the directions to keep yourself as safe as possible.
Yeah. Yeah. So, so in those cases, like you're talking about, you said the most common ones, right? that anxiety. You're talking about
Anxiety.
anxiety
That's exactly what I was talking
in that
about.
right there.
But then for those who lost
Mhm.
their homes and
Right.
so on and so forth, that could bring on bouts of depression.
That's right.
So that could be, a combination of things even really. But yes, it was some anxiety there for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So, now here's the thing. The reason why we have to talk about mental health awareness, because mental health conditions
Mhm.
can significantly, well, you know what? I want to say can, it will,
Yeah. I agree.
particularly if it's unaddressed,
Yes.
will significantly impact daily life, whether it be your work, relationships,
Mhm.
and just your overall well-being.
Right.
Right. And because this is the Marriage Be Like podcast, right? And we talk about relationships
I was
as
about to
if
say, yep.
marriage, right, isn't work enough.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? For those who we would say, in my air quotes, right, normal,
Right.
right, if we want to use that term, but what is normal? But even if there weren't any other, um, uh, I guess, other things that impact how we interact with each other,
Mhm.
mental health on top of marriage can be really rough.
Also true. And, you know, directly affects your partner.
Yeah.
You talking about long-term committed, you share and share alike.
Wow.
So if your partner is going through something, um, if your spouse, I'm not a big fan of saying partner, I guess because I'm married. But if your spouse is going through something and they're having signs of mental health cues, maybe so. And that immediately affects you because they may not notice it, but you notice it.
Right.
And then how do you deal with that?
Yeah.
And then how do you convince them to go talk to someone?
Right. Right.
So there's a lot that goes into that. So yes, of course, it immediately affects
Yeah.
relationships,
Yeah.
and of course, so many other things in your work
And
life.
then here's another part of that, right? I mean, not only does the spouse or partner actually identify and see that,
Mhm.
but what about those times when, say, like in bipolar disorder,
Mhm.
um, where certain behaviors are directed
At them.
at
Yeah.
the partner
Good
or
point.
spouse, right? So then then it becomes a larger issue. So
Yes.
yeah. So yeah, this is a very, very important topic
Which is
to
why they have the month of May to set aside to
yeah,
discuss it.
yeah,
And mind you, May has many other things,
yeah,
that we bring awareness to for this month. But I had already given
right.
quite a few things, so I said, we're gonna stop at mental health. This is the one we're gonna focus on. And maybe next year we'll focus on something else.
Right.
But yeah, so let's give a few facts, babe.
Okay. What you got for me?
All right, mental health conditions affect nearly 1 in 5 US adults. That number was actually surprising to me.
It's an alarming number,
It is an alarming number.
particularly, and we'll talk more about this later, but particularly when we consider how many people actually seek help.
Yes.
You
Because I
know,
don't think that 1 in 5
right?
seek help.
No,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah. Anyway,
Youth
that's
depression rates are on the rise.
mm,
Not only their depression rates, but their suicide rates. And I actually didn't put that in the docket, but yes.
wow.
So yeah, that's tough.
And here's it. growing
Saddening.
growing up. Let me tell you, I don't know that I have. I don't know that I've known any of friends or even heard of anyone around my age group while I was,
Mhm.
in adolescent years, who have, been so depressed to where they committed suicide or anything like that.
Yeah.
At least I was not aware of it. The availability of information now, social
Mhm.
media,
Mhm.
um, and all the factors that impact our youth, they are now inundated by so much that this
Yes.
is the reason why youth depression rates are so high. And then not only are they experiencing the depressed by the stimuli that's around them,
Mhm.
but then they know and hear of so many who have committed suicide as a result.
Yes.
And so now that is depressing
Yeah.
in
But it
and of
also
itself.
gives it I think it makes them feel like there's an option.
Right.
But that should be something talked about so that there isn't, so that
is
it
not.
isn't an option.
That is
Correct.
not right.
Yeah.
Right.
But no, it's it's prevalent in our children, in our youth, and
Mhm.
that is so sad. We've known a few
Yeah.
that have gone that route and made that decision
Right.
over the course of raising our sons.
Yeah.
And they weren't close to us necessarily, but
we
still
knew them.
still know them or
Mhm.
knew them, and that still makes it tough. Knowing their families and so on and so forth, it makes it tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the realization that that is a possibility, even as an adult looking at someone who's younger and saying, "Oh,
Yeah.
life was this tough where you had to make this decision,"
Right.
is completely heartbreaking.
And then there's a part of me that thinks, wow, at your age, whatever age that is, what um what experiences have you had that makes you feel this way,
Yeah.
to where and then compare that to adulthood,
Mhm.
when the weight of concerns and cares are exponentially heavier, and then you have so much more to be concerned with. It means then that, without addressing, you know that process,
Mhm.
they may not they may really have a hard time, even beyond the youth,
Right.
that actually they succumb to, in terms of depression and such. So
I
yeah.
agree. Especially, when it's not treated.
Yeah. Unaddressed. Yeah.
Yeah, unaddressed. And your kids, they're kids. They don't know to address it.
Right.
Does that make sense? The wisdom there isn't there because they're kids, they're youth.
Right.
Some may not. So then the whole point is bring awareness, talk about it. Everybody talk about it. Bring awareness. This podcast, many other podcasts on the
Mhm.
news and so on and so forth. Let's keep that hotline available and
Right.
so on and so on. So because the information needs to be out there so that people will take that step rather than a depression or suicide step.
Right. Right.
All right, let's keep moving. Mental health conditions can affect any race,
Anybody.
income,
Right.
status, religion, and age.
Right.
So we were talking about our youth. It's not just for adults. Mental health conditions can affect anybody.
Yes.
It is equal opportunity.
Equal.
I mean, I hate to put it that way, but
Yeah.
that's kind of what it is.
Yeah.
There is no one who can escape it as far as race, creed, income, religion, age.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, and I don't know, like, one of the things that I've heard in other situations, right? Oh, well, we don't do that,
Yes.
right?
Right.
We that's their problem. We don't do that. I'm being vague in terms of who we are and they are, because
Yes.
everybody says that, right?
I've heard it quite a bit.
We don't do that kind of thing, or I was surprised to hear that it was one of us.
Yeah. I'm not even gonna act like it wasn't me who said it either.
I've said it. I know I've said
I've
it.
said it, but that was before I was more aware.
Right.
You change as you know and as you grow and as you learn.
Right.
And so, yeah. Many people with mental health conditions do not have access to adequate treatment or support. Do you know why? Or what are your opinions on it?
Yeah, I think there are a number of reasons
There
why that
probably
may
are,
be.
yeah.
You know, and you know what? I'll start off with what we were just saying.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's not a problem that we have.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Again, being vague, who we are,
Mm-hmm.
because everyone who's part of we, right, culturally, uh, we say we don't have that particular problem. Whether that problem is depression, we don't get depressed. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on now. So I think that's one of those things. But then ultimately, I think one of the bigger things is just really the lack of education or awareness.
Yeah, I agree. A lack of education and awareness. I also think well, like you said, there's many things, but it also can be an insurance thing.
Okay.
Because it does cost to go get treatment,
Mm-hmm.
to go and see a psychiatrist.
A psychiatrist, or even talk with a psychologist, right?
Mm-hmm. So then, having insurance to be able to do that may not be an option.
Yeah.
And all insurances don't allow that.
Or if you don't have
If
insurance,
you don't have insurance,
you
also
know,
true.
I mean, and then don't get me started on my opinion about our
Insurance is not what we're talking about today. That is not what we're talking about today.
but now and you mentioned something here that I think is important to identify the difference between a psychologist and a psychiatrist.
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead and identify it, babe.
Yeah. The psychologist, I mean, they both, the root PSY
Mm-hmm.
or psy, which is just pretty much more of a mind. But the psychologist studies the mind.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it helps identify behaviors, trends, and things like that. Um, and so the psychologist is one that you would actually talk with, and then helps you navigate through what you're feeling, and then introduces or suggests ways to help navigate through that. A
Okay.
psychiatrist is actually a medical doctor. Okay.
Okay.
So, I mean, now you can have a psychologist who, has a PhD, a doctoral degree,
Mm-hmm.
but the psychiatrist is a medical doctor who is licensed to prescribe medication to help with
Got it.
chemical imbalances in the brain. And so
That's the difference between the two.
that's one significant difference between the two to help identify. So understanding that kind of removes a little bit of confusion
Yeah.
when you're talking about it. Oh yeah, well, I ain't going to see no psychiatrist. Okay, well, you may not need a psychiatrist. Let's talk to a
True. You
psychologist so
might
you could
need a
just
psychologist
just
and be able to know the difference in who you should call.
right,
Yeah,
right.
that makes sense.
Now, generally, I mean, that doesn't mean that you are not or that you cannot see both. I mean, because you
True.
may need to see both,
You could
but
start off with a counselor.
yeah.
You could start
So
off with a free hotline.
right,
But and depend upon what is needed would depend upon where you need to go or who you need
right,
to talk to afterwards.
right.
One of the other things I wanted to mention is pride.
Yeah.
I think that people aren't treated because of pride.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that goes back to the well, we don't
Yeah.
we don't do that, but
Right.
it's really about yeah. It's okay to let go of your pride. It's
Yeah.
okay to put it down so that you can get healthy.
Yeah.
And I don't think that people are willing to do that.
Right.
But it's it's literally just a decision.
It is.
It's
It is.
it's not hard.
Yeah. I
It's
like
just a
to,
decision.
and
And decision for the better.
yeah, yeah. I'd like to add that there are some, particularly when it comes down to the psychiatry aspect of it. There may be some that feel like medication is going to be,
Overdoing it.
over the top,
Yeah.
overdoing it, and things like that. And maybe we just have a lack of trust in
Oh,
the medical
absolutely.
profession.
It's probably answer D.
Yeah, so
All of the above.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, people don't want to be on medication if they can keep from it, I'm sure.
Hmm.
But then, it could be some medication could just be to calm your nerves. It doesn't
Yes.
have to be anything major.
Yeah.
It's just, you just may have issues with anxiety and just need a calming
Right.
effect.
Right.
So it may not have to be something drastic or even drastic to you or your spouse. But, and then that's the thing, being able to talk to the psychiatrist,
Psychologist.
which one was the medical doctor?
Oh, sorry. Psychiatrist.
Psychiatrist.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're right.
Being able to talk to the psychiatrist, they can tell you dosages and that kind of thing
Yeah.
so that it, may not be as hard and
Right.
a hit to the chest on the pride
Yeah.
on the pride side.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so though wide prevalence of mental health conditions, there's still a significant stigma, which we were walking right into that one, right?
Mhm.
Associated with seeking help. Why?
Yeah. Yeah. I think our awareness or knowledge of what resources are available plays a part in that.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know that there is help, you know what I'm saying, then you're not going to seek it.
Yes.
What am I seeking if I don't know that there's something to seek?
Yeah.
So I think that that's a big thing, or even access to it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
access to the help that you may even know that there is, but you don't know how to avail yourself of the resources available.
And you want to talk to someone who you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. And then seek that out.
Yeah.
You don't have to go to whoever you were directly referred to. Say, hey, I'm looking for, I know I tend to go towards female doctors.
Okay.
Preferably female Black doctors.
Okay.
But if I can't, then I'll go with a female doctor.
Right.
And that is not always the case. All of my doctors aren't. I've got one male doctor, but his his assistant, was it nurse practitioner?
Okay. Yeah.
Is a female.
Okay.
So I usually see her.
Oh, okay.
But even like the other day, I was a little nervous going to get my eyes checked. And now, mind you, it had been a while. When I say while, I mean more than the amount of years that they're supposed to. Because I'm nervous. I'm like, I don't want to be, I don't want my glasses to change. I don't want my vision to change. And it's just the nervousness about it.
You don't want to be told what you already know.
Well,
that you're blind.
it really didn't. I felt like my vision hadn't changed, but I did know, or I felt like my bifocal part needed to be changed.
Oh, okay.
The difference was I couldn't tell that I only needed it in one eye.
Okay.
So one eye caught up with the other eye is really what happened. And when I got to the eye doctor, I saw her name. Her name was Letitia. I said, "Oh, I like her already. I feel so much better."
Wow. Stereotypical.
Well, here's the thing. It's not stereotypical. I just feel more comfortable.
Because her name was Letitia. This is what I'm talking about, the stereotypical. You said... Because you heard a Black name in your
well, her picture was also up there.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So that wasn't.
You just mentioned her name. That's all.
I did. This is true. You're right. Based on how I put it, that is correct.
Okay.
But no, I saw her picture. Okay. And she had actually a nice loving face. So I said, "Oh, you know what?" And she was extra sweet when I got back there.
Okay.
Great rapport. Wonderful bedside manners, if that's what you want to call it.
Okay.
So, and I could hear her talking to the other customers before it was my turn.
Yeah. Okay.
And everybody pretty much walked out smiling. Oh, and this is the kind of doctor that I would always want to see.
Yeah.
So I was easily comfortable.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. So then you were able to, put your trust in.
Yes. And I think that is needed when we're talking about mental health conditions.
Yeah. I mean, because, and what was it, a couple of episodes ago, we talked about being vulnerable.
Yes, we did.
And then building that trust with who you're being vulnerable with.
Yes.
And to be able to talk with a psychologist or even a psychiatrist about what you are feeling, you have to open
You have to open. You got to talk.
Yeah.
They need to know what's going on.
Yeah. So, and you have to be
completely
honest. Completely honest. Because there's that. Here's the thing. I can't help you if you're holding something back.
You can't.
You know what I'm saying? You've got to be honest.
Yeah. You've got to be willing to open up. And so, but that's the beauty of that intimate time space when you're talking to someone. And it's okay to be vulnerable and to open up.
Yeah.
The good thing about it is those records are confidential.
That's right.
So it's okay. Say what you want.
Right. Right.
They're only there to help you. And because you called them, they're going to help you.
Yeah. So you asked the question, why we don't
why is there a stigma?
Right. Mm-hmm. I think also when we look at behavior issues, we just consider it behavior.
Explain.
Well, you talk about behavior, people do things for a reason, right? Certain behaviors, like a baby will cry. That's one of the first things that happens when a baby is born, right? Yes. A baby opens his mouth and just hollers. But a baby will learn that there are certain cries that rewards them with certain responses. And so just like the mother learns that lesson as well, there are certain cries that the baby is communicating to you. So that is behavior. Behavior is learned. So then we learn how to get the desired response out of those who are trying to communicate to.
Yes.
So then when we look at behaviors due to mental health issues, then we view it as a learned form of communication because they don't want to learn how to, well, you're just going to act this way instead of really just speaking and telling us what's on your mind.
Got it.
Are you following what I'm saying there?
Yeah.
So then we treat it differently and don't consider that, wait a minute, there may be something deeper.
There may be something more. Yeah.
And we need to really kind of explore this to try to identify what is really happening.
I can't explain what's going on, so I have to act out.
Right.
Yeah, and so more particularly with children, even. But look, let's not pretend like adults don't act out.
Right.
we act out. We sure do.
Yeah.
Sometimes those things you don't connect the dots.
Right.
And may not realize you're acting out.
Right.
That's probably more of the way I want to say it.
Yep.
I think people also don't want to be different. They don't want to be talked about. So to say, "Oh, I need to talk to a psychologist,"
it makes you weird.
Yes.
Right.
And that's kind of how I know that's how we grew up.
Right.
In the Gen X world.
Yes.
That's how we grew up, because it's supposed to brush it up under the rug now.
Right,
how dare you talk about going to see somebody?
Right.
But yeah, and that's fear.
Right. And then, but on top of that, what kind of perpetuates that is the terms that we use, right?
Yes, that's true.
We use terms like I just said, that's weird, or crazy.
The negative terms, yes.
You're off.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? We say, oh, he's off his rocker,
right.
Stuff like that.
Ooh, that's old. I
know.
I'm
sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
But
sorry.
Yes, that's what it was meaning. That is correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so when you hear those terms, nobody wants to be called crazy, right? So another word that I'd probably get us stricken is retarded.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that is not a word we use anymore today,
right.
But it was very much a word we used growing up.
Yes. And it was a clinical term.
Also true.
You know what I'm saying? Years ago, it was a clinical term.
And bullies would, beat you up and that kind of thing. To say that you're retired was a complete insult.
Yeah.
So
all of those things really that adds to the stigma that
it does.
So if we, like you say, sweep it up underneath the rug, then we don't have to face the fact that I am one of those terms.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
And please understand, and I'm not saying that those terms are appropriate to use.
No, they're not appropriate to use.
But that's where the stigma comes from.
There you go.
Right? Because we're using those terms to describe the mental health.
And even if someone isn't using that term towards you, sometimes it's your inner voice that's using the term, because that's how you associate it.
Right. The term is floating around.
Yes.
So I'm not going to talk to a psychiatrist or a psychologist to tell me that I'm retarded. No.
Right.
No, I'm not going to do that. So that's where that stigma comes from.
That's where the stigma comes from. I would have to agree. And look, we don't have to have stigmas. They're not necessary.
Yeah. I mean, strike that word from the dictionary.
True. But first, we're going to talk about it from a Christian standpoint.
Okay.
All right. So what is a stigma issue from a Christian standpoint about mental health? Because Jesus cures all.
I to that point, I remember a conversation that I had with a friend who was facing a pretty significant situation and with dire circumstances. And this friend had mentioned to me, said, I thought that I could just pray it away.
Yes.
I thought that I could just
That's
pray.
what we're taught to do.
Yeah.
Which is why I wanted to bring out this point. We're taught to pray it away. Yeah. No, I don't know where I heard this, but I have kept it in my head. You need Jesus and a couch.
Okay.
And I was like, such a good point. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. I immediately understood you need Jesus and a psychiatrist or a psychologist or a counselor to help you directly work it through.
Yeah.
Jesus will give you all the things that you need and even the strength to get through it.
Yes.
The helper is giving you the tools.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's where the difference is.
The difference. Okay. So let me clarify that, right? Because you're right. Jesus gives us the strength. The psychiatrist or psychologist gives us the tools.
Yes.
And here's the thing, tools are no good without the strength.
It's very difficult. Very, very difficult. You have to be vulnerable. You have to be honest.
Yes.
Not only with them, but with Jesus.
Yeah.
You gotta, that's the whole point. You gotta take the first what?
Yeah.
The
Take
first
the first
step.
step.
He's not just gonna like bow and there you go, you are healed. That is not how Jesus works.
Because even when we read in the Bible, right? When we read in the Bible, when Jesus healed the sick,
Yes.
he asked them a question.
He asks, you have to,
Yes.
you have to speak.
Yes.
You have to make that first step. He is not one to just come in and take over.
Yeah. Yeah.
He does not want to, and he purposefully does not, because he wants you to ask and come to him.
Yeah. So then the term Pastor Stokes used, right? You got to have some skin in the game.
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah. I'm sure elders use that, but I remember him saying that in one of his sermons.
Yeah, so it's very difficult for from a Christian standpoint.
Yeah.
From especially when you're really churchy.
Yeah. Yeah. May the Lord be with you.
Right. We have not been taught or told to go and speak to people or even be vulnerable for that matter.
And
all
here's
things
the thing.
go through Jesus. But
and here's the thing. When we when we go to a professional, right? Many of us are so churchy, I like using that, right? So churchy that we feel like when we go to a professional, we don't have faith in Jesus.
Right. But that is your faith.
Yeah.
Your faith is saying, okay, Lord, I'm going to go.
Yeah.
Direct me to who you want me to see.
That's it.
What if Jesus tells you to go?
And then
what if you decide to pray for it and say, okay, Lord, I'm going to be straight up. I'm going through some things.
Yeah.
And I feel like I might need some help here. So then, Lord, what should I do? What if then Jesus says you need to go to a psychologist?
You know what? And here's the thing. If you're that concerned about it, pray for the psychologist.
There you go.
Pray for the psychiatrist.
And there's your faith.
For the Spirit to lead them in the direction that God
steps.
wants you to go to. So, yeah.
I believe that if you are Christian and if you have faith and if you have some mental health breakdowns at some point, God will tell you to do that.
Right.
More specifically, if you're nervous or have anxiety about going to see someone and sitting on air quotes their couch.
Right.
I just believe that I believe that he and the Holy Spirit will guide you to that person, to the right one, so that you feel comfortable about talking and allow the healing process to take place.
Yeah.
Right. So this time we're talking about mental health support.
Okay. All right. What do we need to do to
and
find
let me
support?
just say, we're not experts in this area.
Yeah.
And I know it was said at the top of the show.
Yes.
But I just want to repeat.
Yeah.
We're not experts. I literally looked this information up.
Okay.
And some of this was new information to me as well. But it's still dialogue.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We still are discussing. We're still able to learn a few things and maybe say something new that you haven't heard before even. I don't know, what you've heard or what people have heard and so on and so forth. But the goal is to keep talking about mental health awareness, which is why they have a month. And then to also make sure that you know the signs and the support that you need.
Right.
Okay. So promoting mental health wellness through healthy lifestyle habits, stress management, and social connections.
Okay.
All right. So all of those things can help with your mental health.
Yes.
Family and friends, community support can play a vital role in your mental health, even recovery.
Okay. Yeah. Yep.
All right. So we talked about being vulnerable earlier. So, if you're really, really tight with your family member, then it's okay to tell them a few things. You know what I mean? And wherever how much you feel comfortable with saying is okay.
Yes.
Mental health is just as important as physical health, relationship health, etc.
Yes.
Let's not separate it. It's all a part of you.
Yeah. I almost want to say that it's kind of hard to kind of prioritize them, but man, mental health should really be
right
at the top.
Yeah.
Because if your mental health is not on point, everything else, you're not going to have the mental capacity to work on your physical health or your relationship or
work on your job. And it affects so many things in life. Everything actually in life. So it really should be first. But people separate it out.
Yeah.
And it should not.
Right.
Seeking help does not mean you have an illness, and like we said earlier, that you're crazy.
Right.
It actually means that you're smart.
Because you're taking action.
Yes.
Yes. You're taking
Yes.
action. You're making a smart decision to
Yes,
take
you're
action and
making
do
a
something.
smart decision to help yourself.
Yes. Yes.
That is smart. Today, some insurances and jobs allow space for mental health days.
Yeah.
Mental health days are becoming more popular.
Yeah.
And even if your job doesn't give you a mental health day, you can sometimes take it as a sick day.
Okay. Yeah.
It may not necessarily be called a mental health day, right?
Got you. Yep.
But jobs are more willing to allow that time now.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great thing, actually.
Yes. Yeah. I like to share that a lot of insurance,
Mm-hmm.
when your group medical insurance you get from your job or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
include benefits
Include benefits,
that
that do
include
that. That
professional
pay
support.
for, yes.
Yeah.
I agree. And that used to not happen.
Right. You're right. So
that was not a thing in times past.
I mean, and that's because the awareness,
Yes.
we're talking about it more, we're sharing and we're recognizing the need.
Yes.
And so it's becoming more of a significant part of our lifestyle that we need to really address.
I agree.
Hmm.
All right. So let's give some signs.
Yes, and here's the thing. When we talk about some of these signs, what we're looking for is not what we're looking for, but what to look for.
Yes.
With
what to look
regard
for.
to mental health,
Mm-hmm.
and you'll be surprised what some of these signs are. But I do want to say that you're looking at sustained evidence.
Yes.
Okay.
Long periods.
Long-term evidence, right? So because you're having a bad day doesn't necessarily mean
that you're depressed.
right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we certainly want to point that out. But some of the signs, so then if you're sign, probably you're feeling down, right? Feelings is a major part of that. Now you may feel down and still be able to function,
Yes.
whether it be on your job or school.
Mm-hmm.
You still get up in the morning and brush your teeth, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Things like that. But that same feeling down can prevent you from doing those things too.
At 100%.
At 100%. So,
you still may be functional, but not regularly functional like you may have been in the past.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and again, this is where these signs are really just trying to give us something to look at so we can look a little deeper.
Yeah, because if you know the signs and you know when it's time to call someone.
Yeah.
Difficulty getting in and out of the bed.
Yeah.
Not physically necessarily.
Right.
But mentally not wanting to do it.
Right. Yeah.
And sometimes that mental can be so much that you physically.
Right.
The body just doesn't move.
And then you're talking about, but you're also talking about insomnia, right?
Yes.
Somebody just can't sleep.
Yes, also true.
Or somebody that just sleeps too much.
Yes.
Sleeps too much. Every time you look up, they in bed sleep.
Right.
So I think those
outside of the norm than your regular nap.
Yeah.
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 For someone who just always wants to sleep.
Mm.
Thoughts of self-harm.
Right.
So not just the attempts, the thoughts.
Even the thought.
The thoughts are where it begins.
That's where and look, there's a thin line between the thought and the action.
Yes. And self-harm can be many things.
Yes. Yeah, because it could be sabotaging a relationship. That's self-harm. Is not just physical harm to yourself.
That is correct.
Now I would also include harm to someone else.
Yes, I did not put that on here, but yes.
Harm to someone else. One here that don't want to miss is the appetite changes.
Yes.
You see someone who just doesn't eat.
Mm-hmm.
What's kind of funny, right? I've got several people that I work with that I've lost so much weight over this year.
Yes.
And so they keep checking in on you. Are you okay? You all right? I'm like, yeah, I feel great.
I'm just trying to be healthier.
Right. So, but it's things like that. When you see someone
you're losing the weight and I'm picking it all up. That's what's happening over here.
Sorry.
No, I'm just saying that's what I feel like. I need to get on the bandwagon for. I did real good for a whole month, and it's like, wait a minute.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm really proud of you for losing weight.
Well, thank you,
And
babe.
I'm happy that people are checking in.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
because you
Yeah.
don't know that that's a good thing. Check on your friends.
Right.
Difficulty concentrating.
Yeah. Staying on task.
Yes. Yes.
You know.
That can be, a stressor. It could be many things, but it can also be depression. It can
could
be
be.
anxiety.
Yes. Yeah.
It can be signs of something more.
Yeah. ADHD, something like that. Yeah.
Yes.
Because you can't focus enough to complete a task. Yeah.
So see how many symptoms interfere with your regular daily life.
Yeah.
So you may have 1 to 2 to 3. You could have all these symptoms, and there, like I said, there's more symptoms.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to put the whole list down, but there is a list, and I want to say where I got it from: the National Institute of Mental Health website.
Okay.
So that's where I got much of this information from, and they have a full list based on what you feel like you may be dealing with.
Yeah.
And what they are saying is if the symptoms last 2 weeks or more, that's when you need to call.
Okay.
And I think that people have bouts of depression.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about it earlier. Well, not here on the podcast, but what about when you have a heartbreak? You know, when you have a relationship and you are in love, and then you break up.
Yeah.
You do feel some of these things on this list.
Yeah.
You know, if it lasts more than 2 weeks, it's time to call somebody.
Yeah.
But I think that some of those are normal because you are hurting. If you have lost a loved one through death, well, some of these things will also show its face.
Yeah.
I think that's just a natural way of how we deal with the emotions and that kind of thing, and sad things as human beings.
Yeah.
But if it lasts,
yeah,
then you need to call
we
somebody.
need to look into this. Yeah. Let's see. Are there ways to help with mental health? I mean, is there anything I can do at home?
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, there is. Exercise.
Okay.
That's on the top of several lists that I was reading through.
Okay.
Exercise. One suggested yoga. Actually, I think this website suggested yoga.
Okay.
And other exercises
Mm-hmm.
to be able to get your body moving. Practicing meditation,
Okay.
relaxation, and mindfulness.
Yeah.
All right. So those are other ways that you can get yourself back on track.
Right.
You know, if those things don't work, of course, we revert back to call someone.
Call somebody. Talk to somebody.
Right. Social activities.
Yeah.
Being able to do different things with your family and friends. Social activities. Axe throwing. There you go. There you go. Being vulnerable with family and friends.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you just need to get things off your chest.
Yes. Yes.
You know, and oftentimes you'll feel better about it just because you told somebody, just because it's not being held in anymore.
Yeah. Okay. You know, what's funny for me, what I find, I keep saying this, right? But sometimes when I do certain things or do certain tasks, it's therapeutic for me.
Yes.
Right. Particularly if I can just do it on my own, because then, it's almost like an escape.
Yeah, that's how I feel about shopping.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Okay. So, yeah. So, and here's the thing, it doesn't have to be something elaborate, right? It's sometimes it's, an everyday task that we normally do.
Self-care.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that one, but yeah, self-care when I go, like if you're going to get your hair done or nails done, ladies, or not just ladies, men.
I don't.
Getting pedicures and those kinds of things, but they're very relaxing.
Yeah. Yeah.
My nail tech, she gives me hand massages and
Really?
lotion. Yes,
I need to go there.
Those heated towels on my hands. Oh my goodness! And I close my eyes every time. I just be in heaven.
I need to go there.
I keep hearing you say that, babe. You can go with me as long as you pay.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so those kinds of things to be able to relax yourself.
Yeah.
And just take a moment. Self-care really does help with mindfulness and mental health.
Okay. All right. So, so a couple things here. We're talking about our love lessons,
yes,
right?
lessons. So today I didn't name it love lessons because, but we're talking about mental health awareness.
Yes.
So they're just lessons.
Lessons. Okay. Fair. So when you notice that your spouse or partner is changing or behaving differently
norm,
than normal, right? we've got to be a safe space.
Yes.
We have to be a
Yes.
safe space for them to talk. No judgment.
Correct.
You got to be able to share. They need to be able to share what it is that they are experiencing.
Correct.
So, and we talk about
and it helps you understand.
Yeah. We talk about changing or being different. Sometimes you see sudden irritability.
Yes.
Or maybe even sometimes explosive behaviors, stuff like that. So we these things, we notice any of the signs that we talked about just previously. So
another sign I didn't put up there was substance.
Oh yeah, substance. Yeah, sudden use of substance. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe a more maybe a more frequent use.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Drinking, smoking, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, it's good to seek help either in person, through a psychiatrist, or online.
Yes.
So you don't have to go to anyone. You can actually just call. They do Zoom calls.
Mm-hmm.
You can talk over the phone. Okay, so some of the places that we found were betterhelp.com,
right,
or brightside.com. Those are some popular avenues to be able to get help.
Yes.
If you don't want to go person to person.
Right. And understand, okay, that it's okay to go to Jesus, right?
Absolutely.
And it's okay to go to Jesus and a professional.
That is correct. The combination will do you good.
The combination would do you good. I think like we mentioned earlier, sometimes we, what my grace is sufficient.
Yes.
Yeah. But then let's pick up a tool or two to help build the house that is going to protect us.
Jesus allowed them to be here.
Yeah. So
this is a craft.
Yeah.
So that they can help us get through.
Yeah.
And if you haven't noticed, we are big on going to counseling and
Yeah.
seeing help.
Yeah. We talk
that
about that
used
in
to
our
not
marriage.
be for us, actually.
Right. Yeah.
But once we did in our marriage,
Yeah.
and we saw what it did for us for the better.
Yes.
Now we're all in.
Yeah.
Gun ho.
Yeah.
Whoever it is you need to talk to, please do that, because it works out for the better.
Yeah. And like, I want to repeat one other thing here, right? Mental health should be on top of every other part of our well-being.
Yes.
Right. Because without strong mental health, our physical health will fail.
Yes.
Right. We will not have healthy relationships, and we could not be all that you can be on your job.
Right. Right.
So anyway, sorry.
All right. So here are some references for you.
Yes.
National Institute of Mental Health.
Yes.
Okay. They have a website. There's lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of information there. And then suicide hotline.
Yes. So the suicide hotline is 988.
Yes.
So if you feel that
you're having thoughts of self-harm,
and suicide, get the help. Call the number.
Get help.
From your cell phone or any number. Just pick up the phone and dial 988, and that'll put you in touch with someone to help you navigate through that.
Yes. All right. So yeah, that was a deep one, guys.
It was.
But look, we got to discuss it. We got to talk about our mental health. We want everyone to be loving and happy and progress in life.
Yeah.
And see Jesus in the end.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
All right. So thanks again for joining us on the Marriage Be Like podcast.
Yes.
Here on Envision Radio. Listening to us Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern and 3 p.m. Central.
That's right.
Come back and check us out on our website
at marriagebelike.com. There you can subscribe to our podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, whether it be on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you go. All right. And listen, you can email us at kennyandkenya at marriagebelike.com. Right. And let us
for the segmented game you played.
Yeah. Tell us how that worked out. And because we want to have fun with you, right? So share with us. Yeah.
Shout out again to our son KEG Beats for our theme music.
KEG Beats. Yeah.
And last but not least, the Marriage Be Like podcast, is recorded and produced by our company, Green Room Entertainment, a media production company.
You can check us out at greenroomentertain.com. Whoa, you got it down there, didn't you?
Did I?
Yeah, just that time, yeah. Probably
just once. I'm not sure if it'll ever happen again.
Never again. All right. So we do appreciate you joining us. Thank you for spending this time with us, and we will
Yes.
catch you next week.
Yes. Catch you next week. Bye-bye.